There are a few video game series that the internet as a whole just kind of understands the lore is complicated even without playing any of them. One such game is Kingdom Hearts. Seriously, ask someone to explain it to you without having to backtrack or look things up. The first game came out in 2002, and Kingdom Hearts 4 is estimated to come out late 2026. And if you're thinking to yourself, how complicated can the lore of 3 games be? Oh, you sweet summer child. Since I'm doing this nostalgic November for streams this month, and since Kingdom Hearts is basically the game that got me into gaming and into gaming music videos, I figured I'd brush up on my Kingdom Hearts lore and make a series out of it. If you missed the first video where I covered the first game, I highly suggest you check that out first. That being said, I am going to be reusing a chunk of that video to explain some things because recording the same thing more than once is kind of a waste of time. If you want to skip the brief overview and timeline explanation, go to this timestamp to get right to the story of the second game, or check the bottom of the screen or description for the chapters. Over the course of 24 years, the series of Kingdom Hearts has come out with 17 plus releases. I say plus because there was a browser game that turned into a mobile game that turned into a movie? 17 console releases. However, as intimidating as this may look at a glance, some of these are remakes and some only came out in Japan. So that 17 turns into 12, but 1.5 is just a remaster compilation of 2 PlayStation games and cutscenes from the DS release, while 2.5 is the same for 3 other games, and 2.8 is a remaster of 1 game, that movie I mentioned earlier, and another new game. So if we're going based off what releases tell each part of the story, there's only 9. Melody of Memory is just a recap as a rhythm game, so we're not really going to count that one. The first game, simply called Kingdom Hearts, was released in March of 2002, which makes this series over 20 years old. Anyway, despite being the first game, it's not technically the first in the series. Yes, we have an Alien Prometheus situation, a FNAF 1 and 2 situation. The game doesn't come out in chronological order is what I'm getting at. To avoid getting too complicated, I'm not going to refer to any of the remakes, because that would basically just be referring to the same game twice. However, when I do say Chain of Memories are coded, I am referring to their remakes, because those were the ones released in the US and the ones that I played. Also, to avoid me saying Kingdom Hearts 50 million times, I'm just going to say the number or the rest of the title. So we're left with, in the order they came out in the US, 1, 2, Chain of Memories, 358/2 days, Coded, Birth by Sleep, Dream Drop Distance, 3, and we're not counting Memory of Melody. The only reorders are putting Birth by Sleep, a game made 7 years after the original, at the beginning of the list, and putting 358/2 days before 2, but after Chain of Memories. The games are mostly hack and slash games, where button mashing is usually a good way to progress. You can equip abilities and different spells as well as use items mid-battle. The travel gameplay is varied between games, but generally the same concept. The games also have various minigames depending on the world you're in, because something tells me fighting in the 100-acre wood might be frowned upon. Keep in mind, even though this isn't the next game in the event timeline, this game came out before 358/2 days, and it came out in the US before Chain of Memories did. So everything we learned in those games, yeah, we don't know that yet, so I'm just going to go over this game as if I don't know any of the relevant lore, because at the time of playing this for the first time, I didn't. Obviously, beware of spoilers if you haven't already played the series. We start this new game as a character named Roxas. We play as Roxas for 6 days. I go over each day more in depth in the extended version of this video that will be up for members only within a week or so after the last video of the series is uploaded. Over the course of these 6 days, we learn that Roxas is what's called a nobody, and that Roxas was put into a digital copy of this town called Twilight Town, so that another nobody, named Naminé, can fix Sora's memories. Because something happened between now and the first game that we don't know about, because Chain of Memories wasn't out in the US back then when this came out. A nobody is made whenever someone with a strong heart or will, good or evil, gets turned into a heartless. Basically, the empty shell that's left behind starts to act on its own. Now again, because this game came out first, we don't know the specifics, but we know something happened in Chain of Memories that left Sora in this egg thing, while Naminé fixes his memories because she has the power to affect his memories and anyone who knows him, which is oddly specific. Roxas doesn't know that he's a nobody, Sora's to be specific, because this man named Diz, and a man who calls himself Ansem, put him in this digital Twilight Town and gave him a whole fake backstory of being a normal kid. This was basically just to keep him occupied until they needed him. Meanwhile, an organization that he used to be part of, Organization 13, is looking for him. Axel, number 8 of the organization, is sent to bring him back, but is stopped multiple times by Diz. Apparently, the two of them used to be best friends. Roxas and Axel, not Diz and Axel. Naminé tells Roxas he needs to basically merge back with Sora so that Sora can wake up again. Oh, and since Sora can use the Keyblade, Roxas can too. In fact, he has 2 Keyblades. Once Roxas joins back with Sora, Donald and Goofy wake up and they have no memory of what happened during Chain of Memories, only what happened during the first game. They don't know why they were asleep, but they check Jiminy's journal and all it says is thank Naminé. It's been a year since they fell asleep, Sora's gotten too big for his clothes, and his voice is deep. Sora and the others meet the real group of kids that Roxas was friends with in the digital copy of the town. They go to the train station, but before they can go inside, they're attacked by these nobodies, and they're a little out of practice. Mickey shows up to save them. He gives them a pouch with money for the train before he has to leave. The kids catch up to see them off. They notice that Sora has the same pouch that Olette has. For some reason, Sora has this emotional moment about leaving the town, and no one understands why. The 3 go to Yensid's tower where they run into Pete, who blabs that he's trying to help Maleficent, but she's gone, right? Yensid gives the 3 a recap of what a Heartless is and then explains what a nobody is. He tells them Dusks are the most common types. He then explains a group of powerful nobodies have joined forces and they call themselves Organization 13, and that they only pretend to have hearts. He says they think and plan, and it seems like they're working towards a goal, but he doesn't know what it is yet. He tells them King Mickey is traveling world to world fighting Heartless as he tries to figure out what the organization is up to. After Sora gets new clothes, they're given their gummy ship, and they go. The first world the 3 can go to is Hollow Bastion, only it's being restored to how it was before, and Leon and the others are there instead of Traverse Town. The whole goal now is to find Riku and the King. However, Hollow Bastion is having a little problem. Yeah, that. The next time the organization comes up is in Hollow Bastion, where the remaining 7 show up. The only survivor of Chain of Memories was Axel, but he's kind of defected at this point, meaning they're down 6 people. The bigger group leaves, but one of them sticks around. He's cryptic, and he says he'll remind Sora how tough the people he's dealing with are. Keep in mind, this is the first time Sora's met them. He doesn't remember Chain of Memories, so he and the player basically have the same brain here. So obviously, he's confused. This guy says that he used to give him the exact same look, which just confuses them even more. After he leaves, Sora does his magical shiny girl thing, and opens up a gateway to other worlds, and 3 new worlds become options that you can go to. Sora and the others travel to different worlds and search for Mickey and Riku. Once we go through every world at least once, we go back to Twilight Town. But first we see Pluto in this random world that we only have seen in flashbacks at this point, and no one is concerned about the location of this dog. He goes through a portal and we end up on Destiny Islands, where Axel's trying to get Kairi to go with him. He means well, but he needs to work on his phrasing and delivery.
Why don't we go see him?
Pluto shows up and Kairi runs into the portal because stranger danger, don't go with strangers. She ends up in Twilight Town with Hayner and the others, while Sora goes to save Cypher. Another organization member shows up, and it's the one we haven't seen much of. He's looking for Axel. When asked if Axel's with the organization too, he says that he is, and Donald is just casually like,
"You having a fight?"
why are we having a conversation with this man? Anyway, he lies and says that Axel wants to turn Sora into a Heartless. I feel like Sora should have just said been there, done that. Anyway, he cryptically mentions Riku and then he leaves. Pence shows up and asks if Sora knows someone named Kairi. They go to the station, however, before they can meet up, Axel basically kidnapped her. Anyway, moving on for now. Throughout the game, we come to learn, mostly through Hollow Bastion scenes. Oh, by the way, it gets renamed at some point to Radiant Garden because that's what it used to be named, and everyone just kind of forgot. But anyway, we come to learn through scenes in Radiant Garden that the leader of the organization, Xemnas, despite having his name being an anagram of the human science guy with an X added to it, he wasn't actually Ansem. They find a portrait of the science guy in a secret lab that YRP shows them. I still don't know why they made them fairies. And Mickey confirms, oh yeah, they caught up with Mickey. He confirms that the guy in the picture matches the Ansem that they fought, but was actually the Heartless of this guy. We later learn was called Xehanort. It turns out he just stole the name Ansem because he was the assistant of the real Ansem. At this point, Mickey doesn't remember the guy's name, but we soon learn the name anyway, so it's not really a spoiler. Goofy then comes to the conclusion that since this guy became a Heartless, he must have a nobody. Xemnas is the nobody of Xehanort, but since he started going by Ansem, I guess his nobody decided to be easier than having to fit a second X in Xehanort. Anyway, Mickey says he's gonna find the real Ansem. Sora then remembers Riku and asks Mickey if he knows where he is. Mickey is vague and just says he can't help. Sora then asks if he knows about where Kairi is, because he's afraid the organization kidnapped her. Mickey then decides, instead of going to find Ansem the Wise to find out who the guy in the picture is and what the organization is planning, that he'll help find Riku and Kairi, because helping others should always come before asking others for help, which no. If you need help, ask. He's saying that since the 4 of them are safe, that he currently doesn't need help, so he's gonna help Sora. Ask for help when you need it. Then there's a big explosion, so they run outside to help the others fight off the nobodies and the Heartless. There's 2 new scenes that weren't in the original version of the game. One where Xemnas goes deeper down into the lab and sits in the Chamber of Repose to talk to a set of armor that he refers to as a friend. And another flashback where 2 now dead members of the organization mention Castle Oblivion. Xigbar shows up. He mentions other things that reference Birth by Sleep, but since that game hadn't even come out yet, even though it has been out since this scene was added, we're not going to go over that yet. It's then revealed the Chamber of Repose is paired with the Chamber of Waking. Xemnas made the Chamber of Repose, but he didn't make the Chamber of Waking, but it's where he'll find his other friend. Again, if you've played Birth by Sleep, you know who this friend is, but again, we're pretending we don't know that yet. Xemnas shows up and takes off his hood, and Mickey finally remembers who he is. We cut to another flashback of Mickey talking to Ansem the Wise at a time when Xehanort comes in. This scene is to go with the audio that plays when Xemnas goes to sit in the chair in the chamber. So Mickey identifies him as Xehanort, Antem's apprentice. Well, more specifically, he's Xehanort's nobody, but they keep calling him Xehanort anyways. Then Axel shows up saying Sora fell into the trap, and he explains that Xemnas is using Sora to destroy the Heartless.
Every Heartless slain with that Keyblade releases a captive heart.
Maleficent shows up and saves Sora, but only because she wants them to get rid of the nobody so that she can have Kingdom Hearts. They're beamed to a void where they see the hooded Ansem that was with Diz give them a box with a photo of Roxas and a stick of sea salt ice cream. Sora just knows that it's Roxas, and the ice cream is a magic item that they can open with the Keyblade. They go back to Twilight Town and they find the mansion in the photo. Hayner and the others are there because they're looking for Kairi. They figured out that there's an alternate Twilight Town because the 2 items from the digital world, the pouch and the crystal, that Mickey gave them. Mickey shows up and accidentally confirms to Sora that Riku is okay. Olette correctly figures that he got the pouch he gave to Sora from Riku. They go inside and they see the computer. They beam into the digital Twilight Town. The only way to tell the difference is that the computer is smashed by Roxas. Sora and the others find the entrance to the Dark Realm, where they have to fight a bunch of nobodies. Axel shows up to help since there's basically endless nobodies. He reiterates that he did kidnap Kairi, but then Saïx caught her. Axel basically explodes, and now he's dying. He says he's sorry for what he did to Kairi, and he just means kidnapping her, but it sounds so much worse. With the last of his strength, he opens up a portal for them, and they now go to the world that never was. Kairi and Naminé are escaping, and Naminé is all whooshy. Saïx shows up, and this is where Naminé confirms that the guy that's saying he's Ansem under that hood is actually Riku. Saïx shows up to Sora and tells him Kingdom Hearts is almost done. Then Kairi's there and she does a jump, and Riku gives her a Keyblade that she just knows how to use. Pete and Maleficent are also there. Mickey is also here, and he meets up with Diz, who we see after he takes off the ribbons on his face is actually Ansem the Wise. It's here we learn that Ansem, the Heartless, was troubling Riku's heart, so he and Mickey split up, and that's when Ansem the Wise found him wandering in the darkness. Ansem the Wise says he's the reason Riku looks like Ansem, and I will say Ansem the Wise every single time because otherwise it's confusing. He asked him to find Roxas. Riku lost the fight at first and basically had to give in to the darkness to defeat him. Back to Sora, who's confused when he sees Kairi Kairi and this guy fighting on the upper floor. Xigbar shoots all the Heartless and confuses Sora even more by calling him Roxas. They fight him, and then we see Xemnas watching all the hearts going to the Heart Moon thing that is Kingdom Hearts. Sora and Kairi reunite, and Riku tries to leave, and Sora thinks it's really Ansem, but thanks him for saving Kairi anyways. Kairi then calls Ansem Riku, and Riku tries to deny it until Sora touches his hand, and when he closes his eyes, he somehow just sees that it's Riku. And I haven't watched this scene in years, but I was tearing up at this point writing the script. Somehow now we hear Riku's voice instead of his Ansem voice, which is nice. We cut back to Ansem the Wise and his galaxy gun thing. It's apparently supposed to turn Kingdom Hearts into data. Next, Luxord shows up and he does a card trick, so Sora has to fight one-on-one for a bit. Sora wins, and Luxord calls him Roxas. They get to a room with these little doorways, one for each organization member, and most of them are pretty busted because most of them are pretty dead. They go through one of the doors into Sayx's area, and Sora is sick of everyone calling him Roxas. They fight, Sora wins. Sora asks why everyone's calling him Roxas, and Riku is the only one with the answers that finally frickin' tells him. Sora at first completely forgot that he did turn into a Heartless. Ansem the Wise's machine thingy doesn't work and it's gonna explode, but they have time to have a whole conversation with Xemnas before it does. A bunch of hearts fall and a bunch of Heartless form. Riku's back to normal for some reason because he did say anything could happen. Riku finally ditches the blindfold and coat. All the Heartless show up, and then Pete and Maleficent show up. She reminds them that once she destroys the Heartless, the castle will be hers, and we don't want this castle, we just want to stop the evil dude who's in charge of it. They reach the top, Sora fights Xemnas one-on-one. Xemnas has this whole monologue. The worlds give them a doorway, and Sora and the others go through to fight Xemnas. Between the first game's multi-phase boss fight and this one is the much easier of the two. Mickey and Kairi are locked into the side of the door, so we only get Riku added to the party. Good guys win. Riku tries to open a portal, but he doesn't have dark powers anymore. Naminé, who's kind of see-through for some reason at this point, opens a portal. Pluto is magically there again, and the others go through. When it's only Sora, Riku, and Kairi, Naminé shows back up. She says they'd meet again like they promised. Ghost Roxas just walks out of Sora, who's kind of shocked Pikachu about the whole thing. This is where we get confirmation that Naminé is Kairi's nobody. Now, just to explain, because Kairi never became a Heartless, and she's pure of heart, she was just in a coma when her heart was lost. Her heart was in Sora, who became a Heartless, so that's how Naminé came about. Naminé merges back with Kairi before Roxas does the same with Sora. Kairi goes through the portal, but it closes behind her before Sora and Riku again, because we need to have another boss fight with a cool dragon thing, then a guy on a throne, and then Xemnas in a cooler cloak. They beat Xemnas once for all, and they have to fight all these nobodies. They're stuck in this weird place till they see a light, and suddenly they're on the beach that we saw Xemnas talking to Roxas on. The two have a heart-to-heart sitting on the beach before the bottle that Kairi sent off towards the beginning of the game shows up. Riku opens it and gives it to Sora, and somehow this just opens a door, I guess. The two go through, and they just start falling from the sky into the water. The series really likes making people fall. Anyway, they're back home. That's the end of the second game. The next game I'll be covering is Chain of Memories, where I'll be able to reference things from this game if needed. The next game in the timeline, however, is Coded, but before I can cover that one, I'll be going over 358/2 days. After those two, I'll be going over Birth by Sleep, and then Dream Drop Distance, then 3, before I finally go over everything as a whole and make it all make sense. But that's it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. Like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you in the next one.